In this co-op, my friends and I are seeing how fast we can progress through Hypixel Skyblock. And now it's time for the long-awaited... Hey, sorry for the interruption. I just like to take a quick moment to thank you guys for helping me reach 1,000 subscribers. Really made my day, and maybe we can get some more. I will be doing weekly uploads of this co-op, so stay tuned. But without further ado, let's get on to week 2. So, just to recap the last episode, me and my friends, Sam, he's a mining dude, Stelios, he likes combat, and he likes to spend all of our money in the bank account. No comment on that last bit. Albert, he does stuff, not exactly sure, but it's stuff. And we got me, like Albert, I also do stuff. Is it helpful towards the co-op? Anyways, there's a couple rules that I forgot to mention last episode. So, rule number 1, no flipping. It's just boring and you barely have to play the game. Rule number 2, this would just be very annoying later in this episode. So, to start a new dungeon 4 that we haven't completed before, we would need all 4 main members online, me, Stelio, Sam, and Albert. And we would need to do it by ourselves with no outside help. That means we can't use Party Finder or get any carries. So this was just very annoying, but totally worth it in my opinion. And then the final rule, we cannot get carries for Slayers. Now with that all out of the way, let's get on to progression. Now in this episode, I want to focus a bit more on my club members because they're also just a big part of this co-op because it's a cooperative with other people and it's just not about me. Now, they decided to go a different rune progression. They went for mining, which is a bit more of a long-term time investment compared to what I did, where I went straight for the rift, which is what I did most of day 1. So this was because there was just a ton of money-making methods in the rift, but I prefer to farm Bearbriss. With Bearbriss, you can farm up to 2.5 mil in just like 10 minutes. It's insane, by converting the Bearbriss into Bearbriss fuel injectors and then selling it to the bazaar. So I did this for about an hour and a half. I was able to rack up enough money to get full Shadow Assassin along with a legendary Wither Skeleton pet. This just not only improved my damage, but made me insanely tanky, almost as tanky as our tank Albert, and also gave me enough intelligence to spam my OTE, which is a problem I was having earlier, where I could only use my OTE a couple times and then I just run out of mana. Now, for my co-op members, since they're focusing on mining, they got Hodem 5 last episode, but now they needed to get Hodem 7. This was a grind for them, but they managed to easily get it by doing nucleus runs like Sam did last episode. And speaking of Sam, only a couple of runs after dropping the alloy, he dropped a quick claw. It's like 150 mil. I don't know how. It's also like 1 in 300 runs or something like that, which is crazy. But we have that now, and we're also not selling it because, again, too much money and we're gonna need it later on. Now, apart from that, it's also a great money making method. So they just reinvested the money they got from nucleus runs into either their dungeon setup or just more materials for doing more nucleus runs. Then they managed to both hit Hodem Stelios, and by both I mean Sam and Stelios. Now, we did get into a bit of a progression loop where we would grind money and then put it into dungeons, and then that wouldn't be good enough, so we'd grind more money and just repeating that, and that just sucked. Now, a couple notable things. Stelios at this time also managed to get into the Crimson Isle, where he actually did pretty well. Got into a Kudra party somehow and got sent this just hilarious message. Anyways, when Sam and Stelios started powder grinding, they started to get a bunch more money. And you might be wondering, you guys already beat 4-5, why do you need more gear? Because I mentioned that progression loop earlier. Now, that's where 4-6 comes in. Now, remember that pesky rule I mentioned earlier? Yeah, that rule was just gonna suck over the next few days. We wanted to do F6, but we just couldn't get through the terracottas. It was just painful. So we needed some upgrades. Now, buckle your seatbelts, because these are gonna be some cursed upgrades. So, our first upgrade, we decided to get not 1, but 2 ice spray wands. Now our idea was that these would freeze the terracottas so we wouldn't get totally swarmed to death, but not surprisingly this didn't work, but luckily we came up with a slightly better idea for the next strategy. We bought upgrades for our tank, got him 2/4 Shadow Assassin with a perfect chestplate that was tier 5 I believe, and then a Mender's Fedora. This helped, unlike the ice spray ones, but still wasn't enough. Finally, we managed to put our 4 brain cells together, and Sam converted from mage to healer. We hoped this would just create an infinite loop of healing where Albert tanked for Sam and Sam healed for Albert. And we sold one for ice spray ones for 20 mil and put into a healer setup and started leveling up Sam's healer class using 4-5. After a couple 4-5 runs, we decided to try F6 and we got this run. This was insanely stressful, but somehow we made it. I don't know if it was luck or actual skill, but I don't care. Sam and Albert both died, soon followed by me, but luckily Stelios clutched up, stayed alive long enough for us to revive. And then boom, we got our F6 completion. So now we could get one of the most overpowered armor sets in the game. But you know, I'm feeling a bit scummy right now, so I'm just gonna leave that for next episode. So if you liked, maybe leave a like or subscribe. It just shows me that you like to see more of this. And if you have any critiques, leave them in the comments. Just helps me out. And other than that, that's all I have. So bye.